Hey guys, welcome to another Shop My Stash video. I have already picked out the products for my basket. I tried going through the drawers together with you, but honestly my setup for that is just so incredibly inconvenient that I figured I don't have the patience for it today. We can do that another time, but for today I've already picked out my basket, so let me show you what is in it. So let's start with the complexion products. I am going to feature once again my Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation because I did enjoy how it looked the last time when I used it together with my... I did very much enjoy the combination of this foundation together with this mini fupa brush from Koyudo the last time I used it, so I'm going to give it another try. This time I don't have a tacky base on my face, so I'm very curious whether it really is the brush that makes such a huge difference for how this foundation applies. Next I want to test out together with you this product. I'm not actually going to test it out because I've already worn it once or twice. This is the First Aid Beauty Hello Fab Bendy Avocado Concealer. I bought this off of recommendation of Melissa Gold. Melissa here on YouTube is one of my favorite people, and like me she struggles a little bit with dry skin, but I think in her case it's even more extreme. And when she recommended this concealer, I was all over it because the skin underneath my eyes is incredibly dry and I have such a hard time finding concealers that work for me. So I was more than happy to try the formula of this. I can already tell you this is just a tad too dark to brighten my under eyes because it's actually even a tad darker than my own skin tone at the moment. As you can see, I don't really know, it's called light, and to me this is more of like a medium shade for concealer, but anyhow I can make it work if I mix it in either with my lighter concealer or with a little bit of the MAC Strobe Cream, which is what we are going to do today. But I just wanted to show you how it looks because I do actually really like the finish on the skin. So next for my complexion I have chosen the Anastasia Beverly Hills bronzer in the shade Rich Amber. I have used this a lot, I have loved it a lot, and I do enjoy it, but it is a crap ton of product in here and I just want to get a little bit more use out of it because I'm starting to get a little bit tired of it, if I'm being honest, just because it's... You can see it's not even a flat matte, it has a little bit of luminosity to it, but I just don't know why I never reach for it. I think it's because it's uber pigmented and I always have to be super careful when I apply it. And it's just that, you know, when it comes to bronzer you don't want to really be all that careful with it. Next we have this blush palette from Zoeva. This is the Coral Spectrum blush palette, which comes with these 4 colors. I received this as a present many years ago for my birthday because I really wanted to test out the blush formula of Zoeva. And I can already tell you these 2 shades are hardly touched because they are extremely bright and they're also not my kind of shades when it comes to blush. I do like to use this shade because it is a really beautiful color and it has a little bit of like a golden sheen to it, and sometimes I mix it in with this very light peach, which is actually just too light for my skin tone. I don't know whether you can even tell that I swatched it right here, but I find the formula of these quite powdery, quite dusty, and like I'm not really feeling it. I am going to give it a try once or twice together with you here for the Shop My Stash series, but if I end up really not vibing with it, I'm just going to give it away because it's a shame to be wasted in my drawers. Now for highlight, we're going to use something that I actually really do enjoy, but I don't really pull out very often. This is a Nars highlighter palette from a holiday collection a few years ago. This is the High Voltage palette, which contains the shades 1977, Fort de France and Queen. So these are the 3 shades that the highlighter palette comes with. They're not groundbreaking or very interesting shades, but I will have to give it to them. It's a very smooth and very flawless formula, and I think it's going to work across many different skin types because it doesn't emphasize texture. So I do use it occasionally, but not as nearly as often as I should for the price that I paid for it. And also it looks gorgeous and I just like taking it out and admiring the packaging. I'm not a really huge Nars person. Are you guys big into Nars? Because I hardly own anything from Nars. Okay, and then for my eyes I have picked out a couple of really fun products. The first one is this palette by Stilazzi in collaboration with Jordan Liberty. This is the Darkroom palette. I did a video a while back talking about this palette, and in that video I had already mentioned that I didn't really buy this palette because I couldn't live without it, or I thought it was groundbreaking. I bought it because I love Jordan Liberty. I think he's a wonderful human being and a very talented makeup artist, and I really wanted to support him. He's The only influencer I have ever wanted to support in a makeup collaboration ever in the history of makeup collaborations with influencers. So there you have it. I'm not the kind of person that will buy something just to support someone because they like the person. I will buy it if it's a good product and it speaks to me, otherwise you can forget about it. This is the only exception I ever made because I truly really like Jordan Liberty. But that said, because this is not a palette that exactly rocks my world, I don't really use it very often. And it's a really bad thing to say because honestly it's a great color story. It covers you on a lot of bases. It's a very solid palette. You can do a lot with it. You get so many different options for color, for neutrals, even for textures. So I do really like it. I just don't really pull it as often as I should because there are so many other things that I get distracted by. And I think what I'm going to pair this with is this beautiful shade from Colourpop. This is in the color Bouncy. I don't even know if this is available anymore. It is a gorgeous like olive green with a lot of sparkles in it. So, spoiler alert, we're going to go for like a olive green smoky eye today. And another fun product that I picked out today is this pigment from Inglot. I have mentioned this on a couple of occasions. It is actually probably my most used pigment as of late. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous color. This is the color 54. Inglot always has these incredibly beautiful names for their products. I don't know whether you are going to be able to tell. It has a beautiful golden copper sheen to it, and I think that would look pretty sweet with the olive greens that we're going to put on the lid, or maybe a little bit as a topper for those as well. Not really sure, but I thought it might look really pretty in that combination, and I do like using this pigment, and I would eventually like to go through it because I think there's some hope for that. So guys, hopefully third time is the charm, and today we're going to have no technical hiccups and you're actually going to see this video start to finish without any issues. So I thought, while I'm getting ready, we might as well chat about a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to do, by the way, is apply my eyeshadow primer, and I wanted to tell you a little story about that in case you missed it on my Instagram stories, because I posted about it several days ago. So I am a huge fan of the MAC 24-hour eye base. I have mentioned this on several occasions. It is like a staple product for me. It's the only eyeshadow base that I use for the past several years. This is my backup. Now, a couple of days ago, I couldn't really squeeze out anything from my old one anymore, and then I had this like lurking suspicion already the previous time that I used up my previous eyeshadow base that there is a lot of product left over in the packaging. The product has like a very like thick paste texture, and I was completely sure that a lot of it is stuck to the walls of the tube, and I was determined this time that there will be no waste of product. So I cut it up, and then I found a little container that I had from like a sample of foundation that I received by MAC several years ago, and look how much came out. This is easily several months of use of this eyeshadow primer for me. So you guys, don't waste product. Always cut your tubes and scoop out whatever you can, because it's such a freaking waste. I don't know what would be a better way to like store this product, but clearly this is not the way, because a lot of it is being wasted. The only problem I have now is that usually I know how much to squeeze out, and now I don't know how much to apply, because I'm always either applying too much and then it dries out the skin on my eyelids tremendously, or I apply too little and then within 10 hours my eyeshadow starts to crease. So that's a little bit of a learning curve, how much I should take from the pot in order for my eyeshadow to apply as it usually does. So onto the concealer. As I mentioned, you guys, I recently picked up this one from First Aid Beauty as recommended by Melissa Gold. The only two concealers in my collection that I have and that have ever worked for me and haven't aged me with 20 years when I applied them are the Skin Food Dark Circle something something concealer, which comes in a pot, and it has a beautiful emollient texture to it. You can already see by the luminosity of the product in the pot how extremely creamy it is. I've loved this concealer for many years, and by many years I feel like we're talking 2014 here, and I've just been getting a little bit tired of it. So I decided to dabble my toes into trying out a new concealer, and after reading many reviews and having tried a couple of concealers that have turned out to be an epic fail for me, I finally found this one from Clarins, which is the Instant Concealer. Beautiful formula. I bought this in 2018, and because I'm starting to feel like I'm like squeezing a little bit harder every time I use it, I already thought a few weeks ago that I'm going to have to find something in the meantime, because I really like this, but I thought I would like to try something different. And luckily, in the meantime, Melissa posted her yearly favorites video and she talked about the First Aid Beauty Concealer. So I went ahead and I ordered it, and when it arrived, I immediately tried it on. I really liked the formula, but I noticed that the color is just a little too dark for me. So I went back to the website. I've in the meantime ordered the shade Fair, and let's hope that one's going to fit a bit better. And I'm just going to use this one a little bit more towards the summer, because there's nothing wrong with having a concealer in your summer shade, because I've never actually had one. And the Clarins concealer is very light in tone, so it looks ridiculous on me in the summer. I can't really use it in the summer. However, I do really like the finish of the concealer, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix it up with a little bit of my MAC Strobe Cream. So what I'm going to do is just apply underneath my eyes both products. And the MAC Strobe Cream, by the way, is something that I regularly use underneath my eyes to just make them a little bit brighter and a bit more hydrated, because the skin underneath my eyes is ridiculously dry. I don't usually buy into the marketing of you need special skincare for different parts of your face, but I do have a special cream for underneath my eyes from Paula's Choice, because of how extremely more dry the skin underneath my eyes is compared to the rest of my face. This is the only time I've ever bought into that kind of marketing, and I have thought that it is necessary. I definitely can tell that the MAC Strobe Cream gives the concealer a little bit of luminosity, because by itself this formula dries down to a bit of a satin finish. A satin finish which definitely doesn't dry out my under eyes, but I just really like to have the luminosity underneath my eyes, and I think it just slightly lightens the tone of the concealer so that I can use it so that at least it fits with my skin tone. I do really like the finish of the concealer, and I'm very grateful to Melissa for speaking about it. Now I'm taking my little fupa brush again and the Hourglass foundation, and we're going to give it another try, because last time I was very surprised at the finish of this foundation after applying it with the fupa brush. But last time I applied my foundation right after I had done my For You UFO treatment, and that always leaves my skin like very plump and very tacky, and this foundation tends to do better when I have something tacky underneath it. So let's give it a try with pretty much nothing underneath, because I applied my skincare a really long time ago. It's already towards the end of the day. Well, what do you know? The brush is actually doing a lot of the heavy lifting here, because once again the foundation applied with a beautiful finish to it. I don't see any clinging to like dry spots, I don't see dragging on the skin, it doesn't settle into my pores, which is something that very often happens to me with this foundation when I first apply it. It tends to like melt with my skin over the course of the day, but upon initial application it tends to look a little bit ugly. Not the case right now. I love this brush. Let's dip into this Anastasia bronzer, shall we? Like I said, the shade Rich Amber. I do like this shade. It applies very like warm and with a little bit of red undertone on my skin. But like I said, you just have to be so careful with it. And by the way, what I'm using to apply this bronzer is another one of my Food Aid brushes. This is the Sculpt 4 by Sonia G, which I've been loving for both cream and powder, like blush and bronzer type products. Also highlighter. It's a very like multitasking brush. I really like it. Let's get into this blush palette, where I think I'm going to just take this shade here, the more rosy nude. Ooh, this is actually quite pretty. It has a little bit of like that rosy tone to it. I would have preferred it if it's a bit more nude toned or warm toned, but that being said, it has a beautiful like golden peach sheen to it, which I really like. Okay, going into the Nars highlighter trio, and this shade here, which is one of the most popular shades. This is the shade Fort de France, if I'm not mistaken. I think Mariah Leonard used to rave about this. These are much more subtle than something like the ABH formula, for instance, but like I said, they apply very beautifully on the cheeks. As you can see, they have a beautiful luminosity, you can build them up, and they do not emphasize texture. I have to say, when I first got these, I was really disappointed because I thought they were so basic, but I've really learned to appreciate the finish that they have on the skin. I don't know, I think my tastes have changed a lot in the past couple of years, which of course is pretty normal. And I actually want to do a video like going down memory lane and talking about how my makeup style and my makeup preferences have changed over the years, because I think that might be really funny. Just like showing you guys pictures of my makeup from like 5 or 6 years ago is going to give you such a chuckle. Alright, let's move into the eyes, and when we move into the eyes I want to chat with you about Glow by Auric by Samantha Ravndal, because I'm really intrigued, you guys. I'm gonna go really basic here, and I will dip a little bit into this peachy nude shade as my transition. I will deepen up with this shade and possibly this shade or this shade. I haven't made up my mind just yet. I'll put this one all over my lid, and then I will use the ColourPop shade over top of that and the Inglot pigment in the inner part of my lid and inner corners, and we'll just take it from there. By the way, I just wanted to show you, in case you weren't familiar with the formula of Stilazzi, the mattes have quite a bit of kick up. They are quite powdery. So I'm going to take this shade and start applying it through my crease. And let's chat about this new brand which is launching tomorrow, as it is. It is the 25th of January today, and from what I understand, on the 26th the website and the brand are supposed to be launching. Now, where do I stand on Glow by Auric? I am really intrigued, you guys. 7 years ago, her line would have been nothing that even remotely piques my interest, but since my makeup style and my preferences and my skin type have changed, her brand now has me all excited. First of all, let's talk about Samantha. I can't imagine some of you are not familiar with her, but we're talking about Samantha Ravndal. She is an influencer here on YouTube. She's been around for quite a while. Personally, I know Samantha from her Battleash days. Comment below if you remember Battleash. That's how long I've been following her, and I've always really jived with her because she has this really dry, sarcastic humor, which I vibe with. As you guys know, I have very dry humor as well. I'm going to take a little bit of this Inglot shade, which is like my... Oh, I hit pen on it! Can you guys see this? There's a little pen on this shade. I mean, not that I'm surprised, I've been using it consistently for at least a year now to be my brow bone highlight transition shade, blending out shade. But it's always so satisfying to spot a little bit of pen in your eyeshadows. I feel like I would like to take just the tiniest bit of this shade and work it into my crease to give it a bit more of like brown warmth. Oh, I wish you guys could see through my window right now, because there's like the most beautiful sunset I'm seeing right behind the camera. Gorgeous. So I've been following Sam since those days, and even though my preferences for makeup haven't always been the same as hers, the last few years they have aligned a lot more, like I said, but previous to that, a lot of the things she used to enjoy never really worked for me, and her makeup style wasn't really something that I was super jiving with, but I've always really followed her for her personality. She's one of those people that I followed mostly because of her personality and not so much because of the makeup. I do appreciate her opinions when it comes to makeup, and I often agree with her, but it's not because of the makeup that I've kept on following her for so many years. She's one of the OGs for me. Like, I followed her at the same time that I followed people like, I don't know, Jaclyn Hill, whom I don't follow already for years, or Tati, or stuff like that. She's one of the few OGs that I'm still following. I'm just going to take this one now to put through my outer corner and see how far we go. So, a couple of months ago or some time ago, she's already been hinting for quite a while that she might be coming out with something, and she finally announced that she's coming up with her own brand, which is really not that surprising. And the brand is called Glow by Auric, and she's putting out two types of products. She's coming out with like a luminizer type of product, which you can definitely tell the idea has been borrowed by the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, which I've never used, by the way, and I'm sure other brands have had products like this in the past. but you can definitely tell she was inspired by these kind of products, and also because she uses these types of products a lot in her daily routine. She has said that she wants to come out with products that are, you know, stuff she really enjoys and that has been discontinued, although I don't really understand, because to my knowledge the Hollywood Flawless Filter hasn't been discontinued, right? It's just out there for everyone to still buy. But anyway, she's putting a new spin on it because the formula seems to be, from what I gathered, quite different from the one from Charlotte. And like I said, I never tried the one from Charlotte, so I can't really speak to a comparison between the two. But I would imagine that for me personally it would serve a very similar purpose as the MAC Strobe Cream, and the way I use that is underneath my concealer, sometimes underneath my foundation. I will mix it in with something very strongly matte in finish, such as my Hourglass Vanish foundation, like the liquid one. I feel like we lack a bit of depth, so I am going to take a smaller brush and I want to work in a little bit of the deeper brown shade on the very outer edge of my eye, because I think I'm too lazy for liner today. So I'm taking this shade in the very outer corner of my eye. And the other type of product she is launching is something that I've actually never had and never bought. It's, I think, a spin on a Tom Ford product, like those pots that have the cream on the bottom and then the powder eyeshadow, which has a bit more sparkle to it, on the top. So she's launching 3 of those as well, like 3 shades. And I'm really intrigued by those as well. In particular, the like bronzy brown shade and the one that has like the silvery green looking tone to it. I don't remember the names of any of them, of any of those. I am really intrigued by those because, as you guys have witnessed in the past year or so, I have turned into a really basic bitch and I don't really like the rainbow anymore, and I want to use classy neutrals. My only issue is, since she's going to be shipping from, I think, the US, actually, not even Canada, she's going to be shipping from the US, and I'm a little bit not sure how they're going to deal with international shipping, as in how much it's going to cost, and whether they're going to have like prepaid customs or we're going to have to pay customs here when the product arrives. In which case I'm out, because that shit is going to be so much more expensive, and the products are already quite expensive. From her, some people have been quite pissed off at the prices she's going to ask for her products, but I'm like, do you not know Samantha? She uses luxury products, so and you can see how much thought has gone into just designing the packaging of those products. I'm sure as much thought has been put into the formula. So of course they're not going to be cheap. We're talking about Samantha. Does she ever use drugstore makeup? No. I'm kind of bored of the blending, so we're just going to proceed with the lid shade. I'm going to take my little Sonia G brush and apply this shade all over my lid without any glitter glue or anything. I might apply a little bit of glitter glue or Fix Plus later for the Colourpop shade. So I'm curious whether you guys are going to pick up anything from the brand. What are you going to pick up? What are your expectations? Like, let's chat about it, because I'm super curious what people think about it. I just realized that we're going to be using the Inglot pigment in a bit, which is why I am going to bust out a little bit of my Pixie Epoxy by Firini and apply that in the inner corners and a little bit over top of my lids to pop on the Colourpop shade. And now I'm going to just use my fingers to get into the shade Bouncy from Colourpop, which is just so freaking pretty. Don't be fooled by the pans that you see in my Colourpop shades. It's very easy to pan a Colourpop eyeshadow if you just smush it a bit. I have used this shade a lot, obviously, but it's definitely not because of that that you see the pan. It's mostly because these are very squishy. Oh, that is so pretty! Damn, this Shop My Stash is reminding me how much I enjoy my Colourpop Super Shock shadows. Now I'm going to take a little flat paddle brush like this one and go into the Inglot pigment, which looks like this again. Really, really beautiful and very, very sparkly. And I'm just going to kind of stamp it on here in the inner portion of my eye. Look how beautiful that is. Nobody ever talks about Inglot. It's such a shame. They're super basic. They never really participate in any sort of like influencer stuff. and they're not on anyone's radar, and they're such a solid brand. Now I think I'm also going to take the tiniest bit, just like this, in the inner portion of the Colourpop shade, because I think the two layered together look absolutely fabulous. I'm going to take this shade Elysium, this mid-tone brown, towards the outer part of my eye, and then on my lower lash line, the rest of my lower lash line, I'm going to apply this shade, which is more like a bronzy brown, because I think it might look really fun paired with the rest of the shades. I spritz my brush just a tiny bit because I feel like it's easier to apply metallic shades on the lower lash line that way, and they just get this very nice punch and sheen to them. I'm going to finish off the look with this Kiko eyeshadow stick in the number 04, which is just a nice bronzy brown. So guys, this is the final look. I'm having such an absolute blast with these Shop My Stash videos, like you have no idea how much fun this is for me. I'm just falling in love all over again with some of the products. I'm rediscovering them. I'm so excited to use them, and I think this setup of me just using them that one time and moving on to the next one and to the next one and then eventually probably rotating back is going to be absolutely perfect for me. Now let's finish off the rambling about Glow by Auric. I personally think that this launch is exactly what I would have expected of Samantha Ravndal, and honestly I think she's done a really great job. I think compared to a lot of other influencer makeup brands, this is one that's very much on brand, where very well thought out of, coming out with not too many products. I just really like it. I'm really into it. Let me know what you think about this launch. Are you interested in picking something up? Are you a fan of Sam? Let me know whether you would be interested in actually seeing a video on those if I choose to purchase them. Let's just chat about it in the comment section below. I hope that you enjoyed this Shop My Stash and the end result. I am truly enjoying the end result. I've enjoyed the end result of both videos that I've done so far, so I'm really super into this series. As usual, don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to see more of my face, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!